The colony dome of Nereus, for wasn't a kind place for outsiders. It was a thriving human outpost on the edge of Federation space, surrounded by shifting sands and alien storms that could rip through steel. But the harshest thing on Nereus, for wasn't the weather. It was the people. In a settlement where everyone looked for strength, beauty, and perfection to mask the fragility of their lives, those who stood out in the wrong way were branded as less than. And no one embodied that cruelty more than the way they treated Aelira. She was alien-born, not fully human. A mix of something from the deep reaches of the Arkan Nebula and human settlers from a forgotten ship. Her features didn't match the neat symmetry colonists expected. Her skin had strange faint patterns that shifted faintly under light, like living ink. Her eyes were too large, shimmering with a glow that unsettled people. Her hair wasn't hair at all, but fine crystalline threads that clinked softly when she moved. Children called her the cracked mirror. Adults whispered ugly hybrid when she passed. Aelira worked in the engine bays, fixing power conduits and crawling into vents where no one else wanted to go. She kept her head down.
She didn't complain.
But the more they pushed her away, the more she retreated into silence. And then one day I noticed her. Middle. The words that changed everything. My name was Evan Cross, a technician newly stationed on Nereus 4. I wasn't special, just another worker shipped where the Federation needed hands. But I had always been good at noticing people others overlooked. I first saw Aelira in the repair hangar. She was kneeling by a damaged cooling unit, sparks flying around her while a group of mechanics stood nearby laughing. Careful, one of them sneered. If she touches the wires, they'll melt from how ugly she is. The others chuckled. Aelira didn't respond. She didn't even lift her head. But I saw her hands trembling slightly as she worked. Later that night, I found her again alone, sitting on the edge of the dome's observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, framed by the faint shimmer of the colony shield. She was staring, quiet, her strange crystalline hair reflecting the starlight. For reasons I couldn't explain, I walked over and sat beside her. "You're good with machines," I said. She glanced at me, clearly surprised anyone was speaking to her. "Machines don't care how I look," she whispered. That hit me harder than it should have. Without thinking, I blurted out the words that had been sitting on the edge of my tongue all night. "You're beautiful." The silence that followed was so heavy I could hear my own heartbeat. Aelira froze. Her luminous eyes widened, glowing faintly in the starlight. She looked like someone had just spoken a language she had forgotten existed. "What did you say?" she whispered, voice trembling. "You're beautiful," I repeated, slower this time. She shook her head, her crystalline hair chiming softly. No one has ever said that to me." Her voice cracked. Her hands gripped the railing so tightly I thought it might snap. And then she began to cry. Silent, shuddering tears rolling down her strange, patterned skin. I didn't say anything else. I just sat beside her until the stars faded into dawn. The secret of her kind. After that night, everything changed. Aelira started to find excuses to talk to me in the hangars, asking for tools, pretending she needed help when she clearly didn't. Slowly, she began to smile, awkward, hesitant smiles, like she wasn't sure if her face was allowed to make that shape. But one evening, as we repaired a broken generator deep in the colony's lower levels, the truth came out. She touched the power core directly, barehanded. Instead of burning, her patterned skin absorbed the overload, and the generator came back online with a hum. I stared. "You're not just human, are you?" Her glow dimmed. She looked away. "My mother was human. My father was not.
He was Arkan-born.
A species the Federation calls myth. They feared him. When I was born, They called me a mistake. My father left, and my mother died in childbirth. I grew up here, unwanted. Her voice was steady, but the weight in it was unbearable. Then she met my eyes. That's why no one calls me beautiful. To them, I am proof that two worlds should never mix. I shook my head. To me, you're proof of something else, that two worlds can create something extraordinary. Her breath caught. For a moment, I thought she might cry again. Instead, she smiled. Truly smiled. The crisis. But word spreads fast in a colony. And when people saw us together, the whispers began. They say he called her beautiful. He's tainted himself with the hybrid. Keep him away from our families. The day came when the colony council summoned me. They told me plainly, stay away from Alira or leave near us for. But before I could answer, the colony alarm screamed. A storm had torn through the outer shields, and scavenger raiders from the sands were moving in. Ships descended, weapons blazing. The colony defense systems faltered. Panic swept through the streets. And in the chaos, I saw Alira. She stood at the edge of the shield generator, her body glowing brighter than I had ever seen. She pressed her hands against the failing core, her skin patterns flaring like living circuitry. The failing shield roared back to life, blue arcs of power blazing outward. But the effort was killing her. Her crystalline hair cracked, her body trembling as she absorbed more energy than any human could survive. I ran to her, grabbing her shoulders. Alira, stop, you'll burn yourself out. Her glowing eyes met mine, filled with pain but also defiance. If I don't, everyone dies. Then let me help, I said, pressing my hand against hers on the core. The surge nearly tore me apart. But somehow, through her, I didn't burn. Her energy flowed into me, balanced, shared. Together, we stabilized the generator. The shield flared one last time, and the raider ships broke against it like waves against a cliff. The colony was saved. Ending. Beauty recognized. When the storm passed, the people of Nearus emerged, stunned. They had seen it all. The hybrid girl they mocked had saved their lives. For the first time, they didn't call her ugly. They called her hero. But that wasn't what mattered to Alira. Later, back on the observation deck, her body weak but her spirit unbroken, she leaned against me and whispered, "When you called me beautiful, I thought you were lying. But now I know you saw something I couldn't see in myself." I held her hand gently. It wasn't a lie. It never was. Her eyes shimmered with soft light, and she smiled again, the smile of someone who finally believed she belonged. From that day on, Alira wasn't the outcast of Nearus 4. She was the girl who saved the colony. The girl who was beautiful, not because of how she looked, but because of the light she carried inside her. And I was the man who saw it first.